So, during an event held at Rice University in Houston, Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts weighed in on threats of political violence and growing animosity in this country, particularly towards judges. Take a look.
Criticism can move from a focus on legal analysis to personalities, and that, frankly, can be actually quite dangerous. Judges around the country work very hard to get it right, and if they don't, their opinions are subject to criticism. But personally directed hostility is dangerous, and it's got to stop.
So, but when a court ruling has a real impact on someone's life, it's hard not to take it personally.
Well, yeah.
I think. And
yeah.
But I don't think that's really what he's talking about. I think he's talking about perhaps people who talk about their judicial system as though it were something he controlled. I'm not saying anyone in particular, but maybe that's what he's talking about.
Look, I don't think that there should be any threats of violence towards the judges or towards anybody.
Yeah.
But in terms of Roberts, he opened the door to Trumpism, this guy, because he wrote the decision, in the 6-3 decision, to declare the American president immune from criminal prosecution.
Yeah.
So that let Trump just run amok.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that makes people, talk about dividing the country, and that makes people angry, and they turn their wrath on judges when the judge doesn't rule the way they want, etc. So look in the mirror.
Yeah, but the president should never speak of the Supreme Court justices the way he has. He has personalized, demonized.
Yeah.
You do not have to agree with the opinions. The thing about lawyers, and Sonny, you can get my back on this, is they have to show us their work. They're not a political branch. They are not driven by lobbyists. There's not money in their pocket. They don't have to campaign. They are looking at the Constitution and interpreting it. They are beholden to no person. So when the President of the United States comes out and says these people are a disgrace to their family, that is one of the lowest things I have actually seen this president do.
Well, I wasn't going to say who it was, but since you brought it up,
Oh, he is unabashedly. That was my one plus of the State of the Union, that I thought he was going to tear into them, and that would have been a massive misstep.
I think the issue is, you know, the Supreme Court for many people always was sort of this bastion of the law, and always, you know, just that court that you could believe in. As of March 2026, the Supreme Court has the lowest approval rating in the history of the court. And I think, to your point, Joy, that started with Chief Justice Roberts.
Citizens United also.
With Citizens United, and also with the reversal of Roe v. Wade and the Dobbs decision being leaked.
Right.
And the thing is, you know, the Chief Justice, when Roberts was appointed, he was the youngest Chief Justice in the history since 1801, since another Chief Justice. And his job is very difficult. It's like corralling cats. You've got all these lifetime appointees that are very, very bright. But the bottom line is the other justices have been warning him. They've been warning him. You've had Sotomayor that has said, we're giving up our power to the executive branch. You've had Ketanji Brown Jackson saying, we have been giving up our power to the executive branch. People will not trust us. And he did not heed that. He must listen to his fellow justices. And I don't, and this president thinks that the Supreme Court is his own personal court.
Just like the Department, just like the Justice Department.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, obviously, justices should not be personally attacked. Nobody should. When I think about the Supreme Court, I think also a little bit about, because of my background in business news, the Federal Reserve. And that, too, like, you're allowed to disagree with the policy on interest rates or how they're managing the economy. But the personal attacks that we have seen on this Fed chair, Jay Powell, completely inappropriate. It's an honorable, very independent, politically independent institution. Trump shouldn't do it. You know what? Democrats shouldn't do it either, because also, this is not just, you know, a Trump issue. Senator Chuck Schumer, back in 2020, you know, he went after by name Justices Gorsuch and Kavanaugh about abortion rights and said, quote, they will pay the price. That threat is completely inappropriate, and it shouldn't happen on either side.
Well, I'm going to say it's not just, it's all of the justices. It's all of the judges. This has not just been about the Supreme Court. It's been every judge who has gone against what this man decided he wanted to get done. And every time somebody goes against him, they're dumb, they're stupid, they're awful, they're terrible. That's not how this works. The law is the law. You don't have to like it. And that's why we have a system that says we're going to challenge the law. We're going to try to change it. But you know, you can't be surprised if you fool around with voting rights and you disenfranchise people, or you fool around with women's rights and you disenfranchise. You can't be surprised that people are annoyed. But that is not what normal people are doing. They're not saying, oh, we're going to get you. They're saying, we're going to find a way to change the law. When you make it personal, it's what we talk about at this table all the time. We disagree all the time, but it's never personal.
Correct.
Because that's dangerous.
It's never personal.
Correct.
What, not being personal?
No, being personal.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, never personal.
Yeah, it's never personal. Except right now it is personal because we got to go. We'll be right back.